My mom, she's 70, almost 77. And she raised most of us kids by herself because my dad died. Tough lady. She's Croatian. Her parents came over through Ellis Island. She went through the Depression. She's a tough lady. She's from Detroit. Makes her mean. She'll sit there sometimes. I'll be over there. I'll go over to her house. Pass by there before I go to the office in the morning. She'll be over the Word. I'll look up at her and she'll just be broken. She was saved when she was 10. She'll look up at me with tears in her eyes and say, I am just so unholy. I just found, look at this verse. God's telling me my mouth, my tongue. I spoke out of turn the other night. I got to go back and ask my sister to forgive me. I'm going, oh, Mom. She goes, sometimes I don't even think I'm saved. I said, Mom, this is the evidence that you are. All these years of walking with Christ and yet still there, striving to be holy. Yes, resting in the finished work of Christ, yes, but striving to be holy, to be righteous. Everyone who has this hope is going to do that. Now he says, verse 4, everyone who practices sin also practices lawlessness, and sin is lawlessness. What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. He's trying to show you how horrible sin is, because we really don't get it. I love what Watson says in the Body of Divinity. He's always saying this. He goes, you have not sinned against an inferior prince. You've not sinned against a small mayor from a small village. You have sinned against the Lord of glory, the King of kings, the Lord of lords. You know not what you've done. Imagine this. Here stands God on the day of creation. He looks at stars that could swallow up 1,000 of our suns. He looks at them and He says, all you stars, move yourself to this place and start in this order and move in a circle and move exactly as I tell you until I give you another word. And they all obey Him. He says, planets, pick yourself up and whirl. Make this formation at my command until I give you another word. He looks at mountains and He says, be lifted up, and they obey Him. He tells valleys, be cast down, and they obey Him. He looks at the sea and says, you will come this far, and the sea obeys. And then He looks at you and says, come, and you go, no. Look at the horrid wretchedness of sin. The vulgarity, the prostitution of sin. It is a horrid thing, not something to be trifled with. As I said, it is a beast, and it is waiting at the door, and its desire is to have you. And anyone who practices sin practices outright, open, clench-fisted rebellion against the Lord of glory. Now it's here. We all realize that the Bible's already taught us that believers will sin, but there is a difference between a believer who sins, confesses their sin, and going on to greater holiness, being disciplined of the Lord, but going on to greater holiness, and someone who just out and out practices sin as a habitual lifestyle. Verse 5, you know that He appeared in order to take away sins, and in Him there is no sin. He appeared to take away the very sin that many people relish and love. Verse 6, no one who abides in Him sins. No one who has sinned has seen Him or knows Him. Again, it's talking about a style of life of practicing sin. Little children, make sure that no one deceives you. Now I'm telling you this. Little children, adults, make sure no one deceives you. Make sure some pastor doesn't deceive you. Make sure your mama doesn't deceive you. Your dad doesn't deceive you. Or some well-meaning carnal Christian does not deceive you. He says, little children, make sure no one deceives you. The one who practices righteousness is righteous, just as he is righteous. The one who practices sin is of the devil, for the devil has sinned from the beginning. You practice sin as a habitual lifestyle. You love what you can get away with. My friend, you're of the devil.